going on, everyone? We are back with another In Search of Darkness review. I'm Depraved.
I'm Hellcat.
And together we are...
Hello, Depraved.
I forgot how to word there for a second. So we get to talk about a movie that is the first time we've seen.
Right.
The Howling.
And is actually talked about a fair amount in the horror community as a first for transformation on screen.
Right.
Or at least with the bladder effects and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Right. So this movie was directed by Joe Dante. Screenplay was written by John Sayles. This is the first time I think I'm actually starting to recognize people that are behind the scenes. Terrence Winkless was involved with that as well, based off of the 1977 novel The Howling by Gary Brandner. Produced by Michael Fennell, Jack Conrad,
Right.
blah, 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 blah.
So,
I don't know the rest of it. Yeah, it had
1981.
It had a budget of $1.5 million.
Which is actually fairly large.
Made $17.9 million.
In the box office, right?
In the box office. And has a Rotten Tomatoes score. Had a 74% reviewer rating critic rating.
Yeah.
With a 59%
audience score.
Okay. Which actually makes sense.
All right.
So, with that being said, baby, hit him with the plot.
Okay, well, so a TV anchor gets stalked and does kind of like a undercover. The cops send her in and they're supposed to rescue her, and they kind of do, kind of don't. And she ends up with PTSD based on coming across her stalker. And her therapist sends her to this commune upstate, saying that it's his place and it's for her to relax and hopefully recall the memories that she's repressing that are causing the PTSD. And she and her husband go up there, and weird shit starts happening. And spoilers are coming at this point. It ends up that her anchor friend and her boyfriend are doing research on, I guess, all of this stuff that's happening, and discover that there could be werewolves, lycanthropes. Like, it's one of those supernatural things that they're kind of tossing about, don't know if they believe in, so on and so forth. And then they get a call from their friend that's trying to regain her memories that her husband has been attacked and acting weird. And, well, werewolves are real, y'all. They're real.
In this story they are.
Yeah. And a lot of death. And amnesia anchor chick makes it out alive, we'll say, in order to spread her message to the world. And then it's ignored, because that's how real life is.
Oh, it's ignored. And so at the end of the movie...
They think it's special effects, because she gives a...
At the end of the movie, she makes it out alive, goes to do her first story, and during her first story starts to turn into a werewolf herself.
She does an expose on werewolves instead of reporting the news that she's supposed to.
Right.
Turns into a werewolf and has the boyfriend of the anchor, who is the only other person to make it out, shoot her. And, of course, the world watching thinks it's special effects and a gimmick for something and not real, and disregards her warning that werewolves are real. So... I
feel like this would have been a great prelude into a Van Helsing style of story.
That's also true. Because the werewolves can only be killed with silver bullets, so a lot of them are still alive. Anyway, the commune that she is sent to turns out to be a clan of werewolves. And they're trying not to eat humans at that point. The therapist that sent her there is trying to... And
some others are trying to get them to not do it.
Yeah, the therapist is trying to get them all to... raise sheep and cattle and so on, and eat meat that way, and
like her,
so that
the
they
anchor,
fit in and blah blah blah.
The anchor lady's boyfriend or husband, whatever he is,
is vegetarian when they get there.
Is vegetarian when they get there. Not vegetarian anymore when they leave.
After he doesn't leave. That's the thing. He gets
Right.
attacked and
he basically
promiscuous. And,
he gets it on with the main werewolf chick. She bites him. He becomes a werewolf.
Starts eating meat. I mean, like, it's, you know. So anyway, having said that, having, you know, completely spliced up the plot there for you guys.
Cast. It actually had a cast full of people that I had no clue who most of them were.
I do know who Dee Wallace is because we see her a fair amount in the documentaries.
She was an ET
great actress.
as well.
She's in a lot.
Hills Have Eyes.
She's in a lot. Yeah, I recognize her.
So Dee Wallace is Karen White. Patrick Macnee is Dr. George Wagner.
Therapist.
Dennis Dugan is Chris Halloran, which I think is the boyfriend.
Yeah, I think that's her husband. Yeah.
Christopher Stone is R. William Neal.
I believe that's the boyfriend.
Belinda Bolosky is Terry Fisher.
I wish they had pictures.
Kevin McCarthy is Fred Francis. John Carradine. I'm sorry. John Carradine is Earl Kenton.
One of the werewolves.
He was the bitter werewolf that always wanted to die.
He was mumbling to
point.
himself, wanted to go into the fire. Yeah. He was great.
A guy by the name of Slim Pickens. Oh, that's his stage name.
Right.
Lewis
I was reading
Burton,
that. I was like, no, it's not.
Lewis Burton Lindley.
I can understand
Jr.
why he went by Slim Pickens. Right.
Right, and then Elizabeth Brooks.
Who I think is the main
among others.
werewolf chick.
The acting again is just your typical 80s acting. Nobody did terrible.
Honestly, I thought it was really good. Dee Wallace plays the anchor that gets stalked and then has amnesia, and she actually did a really, really good job of it.
Right.
You're correct. It's a little over dramatic, but honestly, they all did extremely well given that.
Yeah, solid acting though. Nothing to really be anything to really complain about.
Right.
No, like bad acting to be said. None of it was outstanding.
Right.
But it was solid, and did well for the movie. Going into the CG is where my biggest complaint is going to happen, and it's good CG, but it kills the story for me. Well,
they did the bladder effects.
Right.
So most of it's practical.
Well, all of it's practical.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing as far as the one full-on werewolf transformation that we get to see.
Right.
Looked amazing, but was done at a point in the story that was so irritating and ruined a big part of the story for me.
Right.
Because this lady is sitting here watching the guy. It's the guy that had stalked her in the very beginning. Everybody thought he was dead at one point.
It's the anchor and her stalker. Yeah.
Right. And she's sitting there, and he's turning into a werewolf.
And she's just...
And it looks good. But she stands there for the equivalent of about 8 minutes watching him turn. And I'm like, no, at some point, you would have just fucking ran.
Right.
Not stood there for 8 full minutes.
Right.
And I don't want to hear any of this, oh, well, it's supposed to be something that like happens in seconds. No.
If it happens in seconds, make it happen in seconds.
Right. I don't care what time era, what your lack of...
Well, and it's not that she just stood there and didn't run, but, like, she didn't pick up anything to arm herself. She wasn't screaming. Like, she literally just had her jaw dropped. And granted, quite a shocker to see somebody transform into a werewolf, especially since she had not discussed the probability of werewolves with her friends yet. They were the ones doing the research, not her. So she's unaware of all of this stuff. She just saw that her bestie, the one that was doing the research, was killed. So she's kind of in a state of shock. But on the flip side, yes, you would have run. My biggest complaint about that scene is what they focused on in the transformation. It was almost all face and snout. And so it got very repetitive and kind of boring because it's just the face like bubbling. I thought it was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I do think that they spent way too long. They should have either cut it up so that it was a shorter transformation total, or they should have shown more of the fur coming out of the spine, you know, just more, something. And they definitely should have made her a bit more reactive in terms of, like, if you're confronted with something like this, bitch, I'm running.
Right. I mean, she does, at the very end, hit him with a bottle of what I'm guessing was supposed to be hydrochloric acid.
At the very end, though, yeah. I mean, like, she does...
after he's fully transformed, she smacks him with a bottle of acid of some sort.
Open bottle, guys. She tosses it on him. But still, you could do that at any point during his transformation and probably make it out a little better. I'm just saying.
Right.
Just saying.
And then there was, at the very end, like, the guy who is the male, I don't know if he was a cop or...
Oh, you mean her anchor friend's boyfriend?
Yeah.
He worked behind, like, he was, because remember, he's back there with the gun, but he works in the booth at the news station.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, like, he ends up coming in with a gun that he went and bought silver bullets for.
Yep.
And goes around and starts shooting the other werewolves in the place. And everybody was like, oh, that's not going to hurt us. That's not going to hurt us.
What's that going to do?
And then, like, as soon as the first one dies...
They realize it's actual silver bullets, yeah.
And then the doctor rushes in for what I'm guessing is an unaliving ceremony by...
Yeah, he was done. He was over.
Yeah.
Yeah. My problem with
he
that...
He rushes in.
My problem with that is that the sound booth person, he comes with a rifle loaded with the silver bullets and never has to reload.
Right. That's 80s for you. You know how many times I've seen pistols hold 42 rounds?
It's ridiculous, but it's a rifle. Y'all, doesn't work that way. Anyway. So, honestly, the filming was fantastic. Where they filmed and the landscape was gorgeous. The storyline was really interesting with so many things happening. Like, over here you've got the anchor that's being stalked, set up, and is now struggling with amnesia that causes PTSD. So, of course, that takes you to the commune. But over here, you've got her bestie that works for the same station that's doing all the research on what they found in her stalker's room when they thought he was deceased.
Right.
And coming to the conclusion that there are werewolves and then eventually going to the commune to try and help her friend out. Just intriguing storyline. Just, I don't know, there was something about it that just sort of, something fell flat for me. It might have been the transformation. I don't think it was entirely the transformation, because like I said, the bladder effects and everything are quite impressive. It was just, we're sitting there like, do 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 do, run, you know.
Yeah, fucking do something.
Right. So
now the one thing I will praise this movie for is for a movie that didn't seem to have a whole lot going on for most of the first 2/3 of it.
It's slow, yeah.
They did a really good job of keeping my interest.
Exactly.
With everything else going on.
Exactly.
Because obviously, you know, I'm not one of those people that thinks like every horror movie has to be just full of crazy and running around stabbing. No. None of that. But like like I said, the first 2/3 of the movie is very slow, a lot of talking, but the conversations were at least interesting.
Right. It's a lot of the research and the meet and greets at the commune and just sort of that feeling of something's happening. Like, you know something's wrong with the people at the commune. You know that her friends are on to something with their research of the werewolves, and it's just very, I don't know, dark and different. You hear howling in the forest up at the commune. But, yeah, they do keep your interest. They do. It's not a lot of fighting, though. There's not a lot of werewolves on screen. There's
not even a lot of death. In all honesty. A few people die, but
Right. Well, a few key people
It
die too.
It all kind of happens all at once, and
The key people dying though is good considering there's so few deaths in the thing. Like you needed a couple people to.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So it's time for judgment.
All right.
Do you want to start it off? You want me to start it off? You want me to start off?
You take the floor this time.
All right. Again, movie did a really good job of at least keeping my interest through most of it. While impressive, the werewolf transformation went on for way too long.
Yeah.
And the acting was solid, not great, not poor, just solid. I actually find the 58% on Rotten Tomatoes from the audience to be more accurate
Then the 70.
of a belief than the 70 or 80 that I said.
It's 75-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, 74.
Yeah.
I'm giving the Howling 3 claw marks out of 5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 3.5 silver bullets out of 5. I thought there was nothing wrong with any of the filming, any of the acting for the type of acting that you see in the early 80s.
Right.
There was just the transformation scene and sort of like how she reacted to it, plus the complete waste at the end of her expose, like, because no one believes it, and being a news anchor, one would think she would know that that's how people would react. And then ending with the main werewolf chick showing up in a bar, so you know she's still alive.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention that.
Oh, it's like a cut scene at the end almost, but it's just like, I don't know. I wanted to see.
How do you want your burger?
Yeah, maybe more mayhem at the end, or honestly, again, it was solid. It was solid. There was just a little lacking for me, so 3.5. Yeah.
It's. I think another hit to it is there wasn't a conclusion. It didn't feel like the story was finished off in a way that felt finished off.
I feel like her story was done. The news anchor's story was done.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's all that they wanted to end. I think they wanted to leave the commune open for, I don't know.
Is there a Howling 2?
I don't think so. Is there?
1985.
Oh, never mind. I'm wrong. Did they bring any of the same? Christopher Lee's in it.
Christopher Lee's in it? Holy shit.
We might have to watch that. Okay.
It'd be
Your
something
sister is a werewolf.
at some point we could get into.
Right. All right.
It might even be in one of the...
You never know.
One of the other In Search of Darknesses. Anyways.
That's true.
Alright, so that's going to do it. Decent movie. If you've never seen it, it's worth watching.
It is.
It's worth watching. And I won't even go out of my way and say that I won't ever watch it again. It wasn't bad.
No, again, I really thought that the storyline was solid. You know?
It just didn't stand out to me.
Yeah.
It just didn't stand out.
Yeah.
Alright, that's going to do it. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.